Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a really hard look at our everyday financial vocabulary. Specifically, we're going to explore how the very words we use create this massive cognitive illusion, an illusion that completely masks the staggering reality of extreme wealth. We throw around these massive numbers all the time, right? On the news and casual conversation, but do we actually know what they mean? Well, let's find out. Okay, let's dive right into this. Do you really understand what a billion is? And I mean, really comprehend it in your gut? Sure, we all know the math. We know it's a 1 with 9 zeros after it, and we hear it in reports about tech moguls basically every single day. But can your brain actually visualize that magnitude? The research tells us that for almost all of us, the answer is a resounding no. Our brains just hit a wall. Section 1, the billionaire cognitive gap. So the fundamental premise here is absolutely fascinating. The human brain simply isn't wired to grasp numbers of this astronomical magnitude. Throughout human evolution, we only really ever needed to understand quantities like tens, hundreds, or, maybe thousands. But a billion? It's just this abstract blur to us. And honestly, this confusion starts with the language itself. Just take the words millionaire and billionaire. They sound almost identical in structure, don't they? You literally just swap an M for B. And because the words practically rhyme, our brains are tricked. We're tricked into thinking that a millionaire, a billionaire, and a trillionaire are just these logical equal steps forward on the wealth ladder. But here is the reality check. The gaps aren't steps, they are chasms. We absolutely have to shatter this linguistic illusion. Moving from a millionaire to a billionaire is not some similar-sized jump, like moving from earning tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands. These wealth milestones represent massive mathematical chasms that our rhyming, convenient vocabulary completely and utterly fails to communicate. Section 2, the time analogy. To truly break this down and make it concrete, we're going to translate money into time. This is going to show us the false equivalence of our vocabulary, and this is exactly where that abstract blur becomes incredibly, uncomfortably clear. Imagine you have 1 million seconds. If you were to literally sit down and count out 1 million seconds, how long do you think that is? It's roughly 12 days, less than 2 weeks. You can easily picture 12 days, right? You probably know exactly what you were doing 12 days ago. That is the true scale of a million. It is completely manageable for our human brains. Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer contrast. If 1 million seconds is just 12 days, what is 1 billion seconds? It's about 32 years. Just let that sink in for a second. 12 days versus 32 entire years. If you started counting a billion seconds right this very moment, you wouldn't finish for over 3 decades. And just to deliver the final mathematical blow to our intuition, let's look at a trillion. A trillion seconds spans nearly 32,000 years. Just think about that scale. 32,000 years ago, humans were literally living in the Stone Age. When we pull all this data together, the cognitive trap we are stuck in becomes incredibly obvious. Million, billion, trillion. The words rhyme perfectly, making them sound like an even, steady progression. But the time equivalents, 12 days, 32 years, 32,000 years, they prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the math scales monstrously out of proportion. Our everyday language makes it sound linear, but the reality is exponential to a degree we can barely even fathom. Section 3, introducing the killionaire. So the crucial point is, how do we fix this broken mental model so we can actually understand the world around us? Well, the author of our source material proposes a highly logical concept to finally bridge this cognitive and linguistic gap. The concept of the kilionaire. A kilionaire is officially defined as a person possessing a kilo-scale multiplication of $1 million. Or put simply, it's someone with 1,000 millions. By using this specific term, we completely reframe extreme wealth. We stop using a word that sounds like a tiny rhyming step up from million, and instead, we start using a word that mathematically explains exactly what the scale actually is. And the logic behind this is incredibly sound. It borrows directly from the International System of Units. We all know what the prefix kilo means. It represents a factor of 1,000. This is a concept that already lives right in our heads. A kilogram is 1,000 grams. A kilometer is 1,000 meters. It's an established prefix that already carries actual weight and scale in our everyday lives, which kind of makes it the perfect tool to fix our financial vocabulary. And this brilliantly illustrates the whole shift in perspective. Think about a multimillionaire possessing a few $1,000,000. That is a staggering, extraordinary amount of money for most people, for sure. But a killionaire, they possess 1,000 of those millions. By resetting the baseline of extreme wealth to 1 million, the math suddenly becomes completely legible. You aren't just adding a little bit more, you are multiplying that already extraordinary wealth by a massive factor of 1,000. Our source material actually draws a very stark conclusion from this mathematical reality. The author states that the exact moment someone crosses the billion-dollar threshold, rather the kinonaire threshold, they haven't just reached the next level up. They have entered a different category of human existence altogether. It's not just about acquiring more money in the traditional sense, it's a fundamental leap into a completely different sphere of scale. Ultimately, shifting our language from billionaire to killionaire does so much more than just change a dictionary definition. It finally closes the gap between the word and the reality it's supposed to describe. It strips away the misleading rhyme that has been tricking our brains for years. And it forces us to actually see the true monumental scale of the money involved. It forces us to see the gap for what it truly is, a chasm. Which leaves us with this final, really important thought. If we change our language, will it finally change how we view extreme wealth? Words shape our reality. They frame our entire understanding of the world around us. So if we start using a term that accurately reflects the sheer mathematical gravity of 1,000 millions, how might that shift our conversations? How might that shift our perspectives? It's a truly powerful question to ponder. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to keep questioning the words and the numbers we take for granted every single day.